Hello, everyone. This is Kylie with Fem and Flow. I hope everyone's having a great day. Before I get going, disclaimer, this is for fun and entertainment purposes only. All of this is allegedly. Today, I want to get into the dark global elite's pyramid, how they run things. I talk a lot in other episodes about this dark global elite group and how we can go around beating them basically, and how we can escape this false matrix that they've put humanity in. I talk a lot about that in other episodes, so listen to this one and go listen to the other episodes. Specifically, the episode called Connecting the Dots, Who's in Control. That one, I go over this more in depth. It's a good complement to this episode. But also, I wanted to get into what's going on right now. If you're on TikTok and your algorithm's anything like mine, you see this big push in blocking celebrities and companies that aren't speaking up about Palestine. And I love this. I love blocking the celebrities and these companies that don't have our best interests at heart at all. But I want to get into this more in depth because it actually goes so much deeper than celebrities speaking out. I want to get into this pyramid and how the dark global elite run the pyramid, and I'll also talk about how celebrities are involved. It is true, when you dive down, you will see that celebrities don't actually have power like people think, but this unravels a lot. So keep an open mind and let's get into it. I already mentioned I love the celebrity block trend, and I've been taking part in it and blocking celebrities and companies. While I think this movement is so powerful, like I mentioned, we need to realize this goes far deeper than blocking celebrities because they haven't spoken out about Palestine or they've shown support for Israel. This is just the surface, but it goes so much deeper and it's all connected. But pulling on the string here will unravel it all and get to the truth. And once you start connecting the dots, you realize everything is connected. So that's what I really hope to do by sharing this information. Some people might think it sounds a little out there. If you're someone who listens to my podcast often, then this will probably make sense to you. If you're a new listener and you're here because it's regarding the Block 2024 movement, then definitely keep an open mind. But listen, and it will take everyone, because I truly think if we all put our power together, and for example, if we listen to this information or listen to other creators on TikTok sharing their piece and knowledge of this whole puzzle, then together we can put all of our information together and unravel this mess and get down to the truth of it. And another creator I really like who talks about this global pyramid is on TikTok, and her name's Crystal Claire. So definitely go listen to her videos if you like this and it resonates. She channels information from her guides, and she has some really interesting information and goes into more specifics on certain people and certain topics. It really will take all of us sharing what we know, connecting the dots, and getting to the truth of it all. So let's begin with the good stuff. So at this point, it might not be a surprise, but the globe is ran like a corporation, and their goal is to maximize profit. And the top of this pyramid is the dark global elite. And in the scheme of a corporation, these can be viewed as the global elite CEOs, basically. But they control all of the tiers of the pyramid under them. and they ultimately run all the puppet strings of all the tiers under them. And levels under the top tier can be viewed as levels of management, and the top and the middle layers try to stay behind the scenes to avoid the public eye and public backlash. Then the middle and bottom tiers do the dirty work for the top tier in exchange for different things. The top tier ultimately controls all of the money and has the power when it comes to this pyramid structure. And this top tier is made up of a handful of very elite families and elite bloodlines. And this group really tries to remain behind the scenes and away from the public eye. This even goes beyond the billionaires you see publicized on the Forbes list or some top billionaire list. Even these known billionaires are playing out what the global elite have on their agendas. Even they are puppets in a sense. Also, people aren't always in the lower and middle levels of the pyramid because they want to be. Blackmail plays a huge role, and people don't always realize what they are signing up for at first. It slowly progresses into something more sinister. And at that point, you're making a lot of money. You feel like you have a lot of power, but you actually don't. And you kind of get in this terrible position where you're thinking, what do I do? This is money. I've built this lifestyle. I've built my life on this. I have my family. So I think that's something important to keep in mind when I talk about this. In this top tier, the elite families and elite bloodlines that run this pyramid, this actually even goes beyond the royals. You see, the royals are in the public eye. They take backlash. This group I'm talking about is literally behind the scenes running the show. And they're not in the public eye taking the backlash. They are truly dark puppet masters. And later, I'll tie this into the Met Gala theme, which was a huge part of the discussion on TikTok regarding this block movement as well, because that's when a lot of people's eyes were opened that something way more sinister is going on. And the juxtaposition of what is going on at the Met Gala and within that part of society. And these are people all within this pyramid structure I'll talk about, and I'll lay out what level they're all on. But people are seeing the wild and crazy part of this now. Everyone's waking up to it because the juxtaposition of the Met Gala ball this year versus what is going on in the world is crazy, and it's eye-opening. And as crazy as things might seem right now, and it might seem like the world is going to hell in a handbasket, truly, think of all the time we were asleep to this, and we gave celebrities our money. We looked at people in this pyramid with different eyes. We lifted them up. We viewed them as idols. This has been going on for a long time. So, as scary it is at first when you start realizing this, understand this is for the better. This is awesome. This is our time. They're going down. So, don't let fear ever get in your way. If you ever start feeling fear, just step away. Go do some things in nature, have fun. I talk so much about in my other episodes how our emotions control our reality. The emotions we radiate go out into the quantum, and this is how we create our reality. And we do this on a collective level and an individual level. By no means am I saying you've individually created what's going on in the world. Not at all. There's a collective level. And if you're into this, go listen to my other podcast episodes. It gets way more detailed than I'll get here. Just keep an open mind as you listen to this, and then if you like it, go listen to my other episodes, and it explains a lot of how this dark elite group is in control, how they got there, and what we can do about it. Okay, so now we'll move on to the middle tiers. I see the middle tiers broken up into three different areas, and I'll call it the top middle, the middle, and the low middle. So let's talk about the top middle. The top middle are the billionaires that are in the public eye. They have more money and more perceived control than the lower levels of the pyramid, but it's not true power and control. As long as they are going along with the global agenda, they are left alone, but can easily be sabotaged and taken down by the top layer if needed. Then we move down to the middle of the middle. These are people like industry titans, major CEOs, and certain three-letter agencies. Also in the middle tier, allegedly, the British monarchy. You see, they don't actually have real power or real money that they've earned themselves. They're funded by the public or also funded by the global elite, and they must act accordingly and follow the agenda, and all goes well. But there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that the public does not see. Think about some of the CEOs of major companies in the music and entertainment industry. I'm not going to say names here, and I'm not saying every CEO is in this group, but think about what's going on with the P. Diddy lawsuit, and there's a major CEO named of a huge company in the music industry. Let's start connecting all of those dots. This definitely leads back to this middle of the middle tier of the pyramid of control. And like I mentioned, it's not every CEO in this group. It's certain industries that have been established as pillars of control in society. Certain pillars that have huge influence over our society. And if you were able to wrangle control of that pillar, then you could do a lot of damage and a lot of programming and a lot of pushing of propaganda. These pillars really direct society and the beliefs in how society functions. And this is the group Epstein was targeting, allegedly, because if you can control industries and major corporations by honeypotting the leaders of the industries or corporations and blackmailing them, blackmailing the decision makers, you can essentially control the economy. Well, allegedly, Epstein is in this group, and he's basically trying to recruit and blackmail others to join this tier of control. This is also the group with huge lobbying power. This group is given money to comply with the agenda of the global elite and also has perceived control and power, but they only have power and control as long as it goes along with the agenda of the global elite. You'll see that this entire pyramid, all the money and perceived control and perceived power, that only flows as long as the people in the pyramid are complying with the agenda set from above. This has also been called the New World Order. In the other episode, I mentioned the one about connecting the dots, who's in control. I talk about how there are pillars of control that run the globe. And Crystal Clare, the creator I talked about already, she gets into this too. In Crystal Clare's videos, she actually talks about the pillars of control that are currently falling and collapsing. So that's really good news. But definitely go listen to how they're collapsing, all of that. But here I'm just talking about how this pyramid is set up so everyone can have the big picture view of what's going on. And these pillars are finance and banking, Western medicine, education, politics, Hollywood and entertainment, religion, and the mainstream media. This middle of the middle tier is basically the people who run these pillars. Perfect example of someone in this tier is the CEO of Kellogg's, and he went on TV and said since the economy is bad and people don't have much money, they can eat cereal for breakfast. That is absolutely absurd, and I really do think everyone should boycott Kellogg's. First of all, it's literally poison, but second of all, look at that. Look at what they're pushing and what they think is okay for society. Now we get into the lower middle tier. And these are the people who take the orders and do the bidding for the middle tier. This could be high-ranking executives who play along with the agenda for money. This is also the tier of the politician, well, the corrupt politician. Notice how the corrupt politician's net worth makes no sense with their salary. It's because they joined the pyramid and are being compensated. Also notice all of the insider trading that happens with politicians, and regulators seem to turn a blind eye. This is no coincidence. They get money when they comply and play out the global elite agenda. They also have perceived power and control, but actually have none. Politicians who actually want to do good and make change are taken out and replaced with politicians who are okay with complying to the agenda. The mainstream media also plays out at this level, but the orders come from above, which is the head of the media, which is in the tier above. And think about this. No matter how you feel about Donald Trump, it's really interesting how mainstream media all went after him so hard, and people are still going after him. Also, this is interesting. All of the mainstream media, including fashion magazines and celebrities, were really, really outspoken and really pushing Hillary Clinton when she was running. It seems like the global elite makes sure politicians they control are the ones that rise to power, or like I mentioned, perceive power. I also mention often in my other podcast episodes that I truly believe humans do their best and are inherently good. And I truly think the global elite know this. So they push agendas that seem to be very beneficial to humanity on the surface. For example, if you're listening to this, you probably already know that mainstream media is garbage and is just pushing propaganda. So when you step back and look at what kind of documentaries are on Netflix, for example, now I just view that with such different eyes. I step back and think, wow, okay, why are they pushing this viewpoint or pushing this agenda? And I tie it back to this pyramid. I do. So when I hear people talk about the newest Netflix documentary and they say to me, wow, did you hear about that new Netflix documentary? Plant-based diets are just so much better. Or veganism. I don't say anything. I just step back and think, okay, this pyramid of control is clearly pushing a plant-based diet, and they're pushing the vegan agenda. I'm just really skeptical at listening to documentaries and viewpoints on any mainstream media outlet, and that includes Netflix. And honestly, I don't share this in my personal life with friends. If I have friends that are vegan, I don't mention this because the whole narrative put around this and how we're programmed to view some of these topics is done so in a very manipulative way that causes people to have so much emotion tied to these different topics and agendas. And that is done purposefully. Because if you listen to all my other episodes, I talk about how our emotions are so powerful and our emotions are what creates our reality on a collective and individual level, like I already mentioned. They want us to get emotional about their agendas they're setting. And they know we are loving, kind beings. They know we truly do want to do what's right when it comes down to it. And everyone is truly trying their best. So they want to throw agendas at us and put it in nice little bows saying, "You're doing good, you love humanity." And they manipulate us in that worst way, taking advantage of our love and compassion. It's honestly sick. And honestly, if you are listening to this and you're plant-based or vegan, I truly know you are doing that because you feel like it's best for animals, for your body, for the environment. And I know you care. And I know you have so much love in your heart. And I love that so much. I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want to cause an emotional reaction from anyone. I'm just putting this out there. So maybe just don't let this offend you. Just take a step back and think about it on the big picture. That's all I'm saying. But if we step back and look into the past, I really think the liberal side of politics, I do think they used to want what was good for society, but that's definitely been hijacked. It seriously seems like now they want to siphon money from our good hearts and our goodwill. They push false narratives they know will pull at our heartstrings and open our pocketbooks. It's the perfect example of they're taking advantage of that term bleeding heart liberal. They're just taking advantage of all of us. And I'm not saying Republicans are any better. Both sides are completely corrupt. And I do not align with Republican or Democrat. If you listen to my other episodes, I also talk about how in this Earth experience, we have duality, and this dark global elite wants us to get trapped in dualistic thinking, which is black and white thinking. We should always avoid dualistic thinking, black and white thinking. Truly try to avoid it. We need to understand there's gradients of gray between the spectrum, and that's polarity. We need to be able to step away from our ego and our own point of view and understand the different perspectives and different viewpoints. I've been saying this a lot, but in my other podcasts, I talk about how, well, I already mentioned here how our emotion controls our reality and creates our reality. And it's probably obvious, but we want to create our reality out of high vibration emotions like love, compassion, joy. When we create from that, things that align with that vibration are pulled back into our reality. And that's not good for the dark global elite. They want us living in lower vibrations like fear, shame, sadness. And that's why they feed us all of these narratives on mainstream media and in movies. They want us to latch onto that idea. They want us putting out those emotions because then we have that idea in our head. We're putting out those emotions, and that's what will be created on a collective level. So they want us fighting against each other. They want Republican and Democrat going at odds, stuck in traps of duality, putting out anger towards each other. And it also keeps us divided. They want us fighting against each other so they can stand up there and provide solutions to problems they created. And also, when we're fighting against each other and divided, we're not together going against them and creating a revolution. Really, I think the best thing to do is separate ourselves from all of these pillars I talk about. Really step back and think critically about what narratives they're pushing and what information they're feeding us. And we need to truly understand and have the perspective that everyone in society is doing the best with what they've been given, what they've been taught, how they've grown up. We need to really understand and believe that everyone's doing the best they can. And we need to help each other, and we need to love each other and send each other compassion. And we need to all band together and create massive change. And we do that by all coming together and all loving each other and having empathy for each other. Okay, but back to politics for just a second. I truly believe that taxation is theft because we don't have a say where the money goes. We do not live in a democracy like we thought, and mainstream media spews propaganda that causes some to get overly emotional in a way where they are on board with war. They flash all these videos and photos on the screen, and then they give us a specific narrative that they want that will fit their agenda. And then we get emotional and say, that's wrong. Let's go after them. Yeah, I'm good with this. Which now, I mean, at this point, it doesn't even seem like they care if we're on board. I think they just go with whatever agenda they want, but they want some of us to be on board to avoid a revolution. Because I talk about this in other episodes too, but they have no power. We're the divine ones that have all the power. We're the ones that can create our own reality based off of the emotions we're putting out. They don't have that power. So they have to manipulate us to put out the emotions and the narratives. We latch onto that and create it in our reality. That's how they manipulate us to create the version of this world that they want, that they will benefit off of, and they will continue to make money off of us. And war is the number one way the global elite fills their pockets and can afford to pay for their own lives and afford to pay for this whole pyramid that controls society. That's where they get most of the money to pay for all these mid and lower levels of the pyramid that push and fulfill their agenda. On the surface, countries are sending more money to fund war, but most of it's being funneled and money laundered into the pockets of the global elite. Think about this. The Pentagon hasn't passed an audit in years, and there's so much money they cannot account for. There's so much interesting information, so sometimes I go in tangents, but back to this middle lower tier, this is also the level of people like Hollywood agents and Hollywood management. And this next part might sound shocking, but I do not believe that our economy runs as a free market. I used to believe that. Actually, I majored in economics in college. I've worked in finance and asset management, and I've worked in corporate strategy. And listen, I don't believe our economy runs as a market economy. I used to look at sports stars, Hollywood stars, people in the entertainment industry, and think, okay, yes, there's a lot of income equality, and that's not cool, but they're being paid off of the market of that. It's a market economy. So I guess, yeah, life's not fair sometimes, but if they're pulling in that much profit and revenue, then I guess it makes sense that has to go somewhere. But I don't agree with that anymore. I think that's all smoke and mirrors, and it's actually being stolen in the form of taxes, in the form of war money laundering, and it's actually going back to this whole pyramid, and they're using this money to fund their agenda. And people who are playing out the agenda are getting tons of money to do so. I think that's how it all works. It's not a market economy. Okay, but let's move on. Now we're moving on to the lower level of the pyramid. And this level consists of celebrities. And by celebrities, I'm talking about actors, musicians, big sports stars, big influencers, everyone within that realm. You don't get to this level by being talented. There are tons and tons of talented individuals out there. You get to this level by following the agenda of the global elite. And the age-old saying, sell your soul, is true. You sign a contract with this pyramid scheme, the global elite. I already talked about some of the levels, so you can imagine where you're signing. So you sign over your control and your likeness, and from then on, you are owned. And things may seem great at first, but it's the analogy of the frog in a boiling pot of water. Things slowly get worse and worse, and as you keep complying, you have to do more and more. And it probably goes so slow, and you're given all this money, and you're given public validation, and you get attention from the public, and it's just a big mess of a situation. You also have to be faces of companies and products that go along with the global elite agenda. I don't want to say names just in case, but think about a certain big football star that won a Super Bowl ring recently, who's also the face of Pfizer and the vaccine. Think about this. He is clearly signing these contracts. And all at the same time, he is also very publicly dating a very famous pop star. This is all just part of the global elite's plan of control. It's wild that people don't see this, but I'm compassionate and I understand some people might be more caught up in it than others. And I actually think sports stars and top athletes used to be more pure. It was truly for the sport. But I do think this dark global elite is slowly starting to infiltrate among professional athletes. And I really think if we have clear eyes and step back, we can identify who's under this control. Examples could be that professional football player I just mentioned. There's another professional football player that really, really stands out as being under this control. He just got roasted on TV, one of the celebrity roast sessions. And then also some professional wrestlers that are now actors. They really stand out to me as well. Celebrities are the ultimate puppets, and the global elite use them as entertainment and distraction. They also use them in TV and movies that literally program and plant propaganda and certain narratives in the minds of society. You've probably heard the saying about giving the people bread and circuses to distract them and keep them happy. It's literally that. Celebrity gossip and pop culture is as big as mainstream media news. It's all propaganda and all a distraction. A 3-letter agency I won't mention, they started Hollywood in order to control society with propaganda and distractions. And they did this when people started turning away from religion and when religion started failing to control people. They really try to get us at every angle, no matter what we believe or how we interact with the world. They try to capture us in different ways. So some people are more captured by religion still, and some are more captured by Hollywood and pop culture. It becomes pretty clear when you zoom out and understand the love and the cult behavior that some people have around certain pop stars. It's pretty crazy. And it's so big and crazy in a way, if someone speaks against these different pop stars, their group of cult members basically will attack the person who made a comment or opposed. It's really, really weird behavior once we zoom out and take a bigger viewpoint of the situation. And also, why do we care about celebrities? They are literally providing zero value to us except for distraction. They do not earn all of this money that they have. Why are we okay with just watching them on TV live this opulent lifestyle while others are struggling? It makes no sense. And they're just selling junk. They wear a certain handbag and people who can't even afford it that easily want the handbag. And it's so crazy. And hey, I understand. I used to fall for this. I was never that into celebrities, but I would watch reality TV and was into fashion and would look at what influencers were putting out, and I would think, "Oh, that's cute. I'm gonna buy that." But I was definitely caught up in that for a little bit, but it's really important to step back from it and really look at what's going on. But back to celebrities. So, celebrities literally have no power. They must act in line with the global elite agenda being fed to them. And take note when all celebrities start speaking out about certain narratives. Red flags should go up when all of the celebrities start talking about these narratives on their social media. So, really, we should view the fact celebrities aren't speaking out against Israel or about the Free Palestine movement. We should take it as a huge sign of where the global elite agenda lies. And in fact, at first, many articles were coming out about sort of bragging and looking at it as a great heroic thing about how certain celebrities' bodyguards were leaving to go fight for Israel. Also, a lot of heads of universities and different companies, these people in the middle tier, they were also taking huge stances for Israel. And what's happening now kind of parallels with what happened during the pandemic. Celebrities really were taking a stand and sharing and pushing the COVID vaccine and that whole agenda, and opposing opinions about the vaccine and COVID. They weren't heard, they were shut down, and people went into emotional outrage if you had an opposing opinion. And many people felt like they couldn't even share their real opinion without being attacked. And I know people felt this way during the Trump Hillary Clinton political race as well. People felt like they couldn't say they wanted Trump to win without getting attacked. It's just really crazy. And like I mentioned, I'm not on Republican or Democrat side, but we need to keep this in mind when things are happening. We really need to not get caught up in any of the emotional part of it. We need to step back and watch what is playing out. But back to the vaccine, you couldn't even return to work most of the time or go to certain restaurants or public places without proof of the vaccine. The mainstream media really stirred up a huge emotional response in people regarding the vaccine and COVID. And it really seems to parallel with what's going on with Israel and Palestine. The mainstream media immediately pushed Israel versus Hamas, and if you were on the side of peace or on the side of the Free Palestine movement, they labeled you pro-Hamas. This is so clearly manipulation, propaganda, and gaslighting. It's actually laughable, but then again, it's not because people don't see this truth, which it seems so clear to me now, which hopefully it'll be more clear to people moving forward. Heads of industry in the middle tier of the pyramid immediately came out defending Israel and being extremely against any opposing opinions, to the point opposing people were just labeled anti-Semite. And heads of company were saying if you were, well, they probably say pro-Hamas, but if they say if you were part of the protests and you were on the Free Palestine side, don't even apply to work at my company. And were people getting expelled even from universities? It is crazy. We just have to step back and think, if this is the response to an opposing opinion, that is not okay. And there's clearly manipulation and control going on. Clearly, it's so clear. To me, it's so clear. But again, back to celebrities, they literally have no power. They are puppets for the global elite's agenda. And not only do they get paid to fulfill the agenda, to distract, to push propaganda, but they also get paid to insulate the top of the pyramid. They are there at the lowest level to take the public backlash and criticism from society, which we kind of see that playing out right now. Everyone's saying, go block the celebrities, And yeah, they're also saying block the companies, but they're taking all the backlash and people think they are the ones with control. But really, there's a much bigger picture at play. So that's what we need to step back and realize so we can actually make change and not just hit the bottom of the pyramid when the pyramid is literally set up in the way that those are the people who will face the public criticism and public backlash because these people can so easily be replaced. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of talented people, and it's not talent that gets you there, it's how well you comply with the agenda. But also think about celebrities. They're basically cosplaying elite when in reality, they were the ones desperate enough to fulfill the agenda. All of these celebrities at their red carpets and galas, they're wearing borrowed designer, borrowed diamonds. All of this stuff is borrowed, and they're literally cosplaying the elite who are actually buying that stuff and the ones going to the designer and having them do custom couture and actually buying this for their life. The celebrities were really just after fame to fulfill their ego and get public validation. They trade their soul and free will for perceived power and control, money, public validation, and fame. Honestly, they're probably the most desperate and probably the ones with the most trauma and void that they're trying to fill, that they think getting fame and public validation and money will fill. Trauma and insecurity is exactly what the dark global elite look for and exploit. I mean, look at this certain pop star recently who frames her whole narrative of being from the Bronx. Literally, look how insecure she is. And it's just, she's so in need of public validation. It's crazy. These celebrities, I mean, they go to Hollywood, are probably waitressing or doing some other job during the day. And they do all of these callbacks or auditions so they can be in movies or they go try to be a singer. They all want fame. They all want to be known. They all want stardom. And I truly think they think this will fill a void. And there's all this narrative around how many people go to Hollywood and try this out and only a tiny percent make money off of it. That is no coincidence. The tiny portion that make money off of it are getting paid by the global elite to fulfill an agenda. And guess who's okay with signing those sort of deals? The most desperate, the ones with the biggest void, the ones that have trauma that the global elite can exploit. Some of these celebrities are the ones that truly have stars in their eyes. They want fame, they want money, and they're desperate and will fulfill the agenda. And like I said, it's a slippery slope, and it's kind of that frog in the boiling water analogy where things slowly get worse and worse, and they keep doing what the agenda wants, and they just get swept up in it. And then I believe there's another group. I already mentioned the three-letter agency started Hollywood when religion started failing to control people. And yes, I do believe some of these celebrities are just plants of that three-letter agency that are hired, or maybe they grow up within the system or something like that. And yes, they are plants there to fulfill the narrative. Listen to, well, actually don't listen, but look at the Billboard Top 100. It's mainly just BS songs with no realness or humanity. It's just empty lyrics put out for nefarious reasons, songs by whichever karaoke singer signed away their power. While I've taken great enjoyment in blocking celebrities and companies, and I love seeing other people do it, and I love seeing them lose their followers and lose their reach, we also need to realize it goes much deeper than that, and we need to understand the big picture and the full pyramid. Like I mentioned, the pyramid was set up so celebrities take the public backlash first. So let's keep going, let's keep blocking them, let's keep blocking companies, and let's really take a stand. If you listen to my other episode, Connecting the Dots, Who is in Control, you already know this, but yes, I do believe it all goes back to Israel. And I'm absolutely not saying this is all Jewish people. This thinking is a duality trap, and I talk about this a lot and mentioned it already. And it's one of the ways the global elite gets us with dualistic thinking or black and white thinking. We really need to avoid dualities. And the media right now is a great example of a duality trap when they say free Palestine is equivalent to pro-Hamas, or that is equated to anti-Semitism. This is completely harmful and completely wrong. And it's no coincidence that they're banning TikTok. TikTok is where individuals can share information and share their truth. And if you see those videos about different politicians talking about the ban, it's so clear that it was banned to block our voice. I forget who said it. Someone go to my TikTok and stitch one of my videos and share. But they talk about how we don't have a Democrat versus Republican, left versus right problem. We have a generational problem because the younger generations are waking up to the truth. They see this pyramid, even if they don't know how it all lays out yet. They see this pyramid and see that we're being completely controlled. And these politicians say that TikTok is sharing more free Palestine views and is really sharing actual videos of what's going on, and they're not listening to what's being filtered through mainstream media because a lot of the younger generation sees through the mainstream media. They see that it's propaganda. That's why they want to ban TikTok. They can't control it. They can't push their propaganda. It's so clear. So if this all resonates, go listen to the other episode I mentioned, and then listen to my episodes about the different dimensions in general, because it explains how the global elite did this, how we can beat them, and how we can get out of this control pyramid, which is really a false matrix. Before I end this, I said I would swing back around to the Met Gala theme this year. The theme was based on a short story called The Garden of Time by J.G. Ballard. It's a short story about two aristocrats, Count Axel and his wife, the Countess. They live in this magnificent villa surrounded by a garden of crystal flowers. And all of these crystal flowers are magical and they turn back time. So a really angry mob of people, basically I view as society, they keep advancing upon this magnificent villa. And to keep them at bay, Axel, the Count, is turning back time by plucking the flowers one by one until they're all gone. So they're in this magnificent villa, enjoying the beauty of it and enjoying life with each other, the Count and Countess. And out the window, they see the mob slowly approaching. And they decide, should we pluck a flower? And every time they pluck it, it turns back time and they can enjoy their life a little bit longer. And then the mob of people get closer and closer, and then they decide to pluck the last flower. And by the time the mob gets in, the magnificent villa is all deteriorated. All the plants are taking it over. It's deteriorating. And the two aristocrats actually turn into statues. So by the time the mob gets there, everything's in disarray. It's all breaking down and there's nothing left. And have you heard people talk about how this global elite, it's some karmic law for them that they can do this evil, but they have to tell society what they're doing? I have seen that. You know, we saw the Balenciaga advertisements and it was so shocking. And we think, why would they show that? And I really do believe they have to tell us what they're doing and then they get out of some of the karmic law. And I don't view karma as getting stuck in a karmic loop where you reincarnate over and over again until you learn your lessons. I actually do believe that used to be a thing, but we've made progress and got rid of that. Now I view karma and how I'm talking about it here is basically the term what goes around comes around, and the energy you put out into your reality and the universe will come back to you. I think they view it as if they tell us what they're going to do, then it gets rid of the what goes around comes around energy. So I do believe they subtly try to tell us what they're going to attempt to play out with their agenda. And I do think they do this through mainstream media. They put out their dark agenda, and not only do they want to put that into the collective consciousness so we play it out with our emotions, but they're also telling us their agenda. And in that way, they're hoping to get out of this idea of karma I just talked about. Think about the conspiracy with The Simpsons and think about that creepy movie. I didn't watch it, but about the end of the world or something like that that just came out. I don't watch stuff like that because I don't even want it in my brain. So, back to the short story. Does this not completely lay out with the pyramid I just described? There's these very elite families and bloodline at the top of this pyramid. And then there's all these different layers, middle top, middle lower, and lower tiers that are playing out their agenda and they're completely in control. And think about these celebrities that were at this Met Gala. I view these celebrities at the Met Gala metaphorically as these time flowers. And that's just that first level that I said faces the public backlash. These are just flowers being picked. It turns back time, and our anger and the public outrage hits these celebrities first. They're dispensable. They're being picked to turn back the time a little longer so that top can be in control for a little longer. I'm very cautious of using names, but people talk about how the organizer of the Met Gala, head of Vogue, they talked about her in terms of the metaphor of the time flowers and the aristocrats. And I've heard people talk about, okay, where does she lie in this? And I view the celebrities as the lower of the pyramid, and then I view her as the middle lower within that top executive, Hollywood agents, politicians. Within that tier, that they are really doing the bidding and playing out the agenda that is fed to them from the top of the pyramid. So she's just another flower that's going to be picked to turn back time a little more. Direct attention towards her, direct your anger towards her as well. So it's really interesting. It's such a metaphor on what is going on right now. It's crazy. It's crazy the parallels. So this top of the pyramid is picking through all the flowers that represent people of the middle and lower tier of the pyramid of control. And then we're finally going to get to the top where all the power lies. And they know it's coming. Their time is literally up and they know it. Now we just go through this process of picking the time flowers. Let's go through all of these layers of the pyramid and get to them. And like the short story, their villas will probably be in disarray by then. Look what's going on. But who cares? But who cares? We are going to rebuild a beautiful society exactly what is blissful and ideal to us. So we should truly have no fear. We should know their time's up and see this pyramid for what it is, see the truth, see the big picture, and let's not stop with just those bottom two tiers that is very clear to us. Let's see the big picture and let's get to the truth. I'll hit on a little summary on the pyramid because I know as I went through it, I added a lot of additional information and went on some different tangents. Our globe is ran like a company. The goal is to maximize profit. And at the top, we have a few elite families and elite bloodlines. And then we have three different middle layers: the middle top, middle, and middle lower. The middle top is billionaires. The middle is heads of industry, some CEOs, especially the ones that are heads of companies within the different pillars of society that I mentioned. And these pillars of society are actually falling, and their control is deteriorating. And then this is also the level of the British royals and some other groups of royals, and then certain three-letter agencies. And then the middle lower is top executives under the CEOs of the level above, Hollywood agents, and corrupt politicians. And then the lower tier is celebrities, certain sport stars, or certain top athletes that are really in the public eye, actors and actresses, certain musicians, and top influencers. So that's the pyramid, and the lowest level of this takes the beating basically, gets most of the public backlash, and each layer can just be viewed as insulation to protect that top of the pyramid. That top wants to stay out of the public eye, not face criticism, and try to use all the layers below as the scapegoat. So keep all of this in mind and really think of the big picture when you see stuff going on in society. And if you're someone who listens to my content regularly, you'll probably be fine with my content and keep listening. But if you're not, if you're just here because I was talking about the block celebrity trend, listen to everything with an open mind, because on the surface it might seem like I'm talking about spirituality and it might seem kind of out there, but once you dig down into it, you realize spirituality is literally just reality, and reality can be explained with physics and quantum physics. And if you agree with what I've been talking about and how we've been being fed all this propaganda and they're trying to control us and make money off of us, and the globe is ran like a corporation for profit, then you realize a lot of the stuff we've grown up thinking and that we believe, a lot of it is smoke and mirrors. It's all lies to make us think one way. So we really need to tear down everything we've believed and step back and look at things with fresh eyes and question everything. So maybe some of the stuff I talk about, quantum physics, will actually really resonate. Just go in with an open mind. I think you'll find it really interesting. But spoiler alert, before you listen to the other episodes, we are the ones with true divine power. The global elite are not. They have no true power, so they must manipulate us to play out their agendas and create the world they want. So it's truly time. It's here, the Great Awakening, when we all wake up to this truth and we take our power back. We're in a hugely, hugely transformative time. So important, the best time in history. We're taking our power back, and it's going to affect all the generations after us. So I hope you like this. I hope it helped and maybe helped open your eyes to the truth, or maybe helped you zoom out and see the bigger picture. If you like this, please subscribe and follow me on TikTok. I love you all. Have a great day.